牢记历史，
牢记历史，
勿忘国耻，
勿忘国耻，
继承先辈遗志，
继承先辈遗志，
刻苦学习，
刻苦学习，
精忠报国，
精忠报国，
为中华民族的繁荣富强，
为中华民族的繁荣富强，
我愿奉献自己的一切，
我愿奉献自己的一切。
Soldiers also brought uniforms and weaponry from that period to tell the students the story. In Shandong province, beside the ancient Beijing-Hangzhou Grand Canal, the town of Taiyuan witnessed a major victory achieved together by the Communist Party of China and the Kuomintang Army at a very early stage of the war of resistance against the Japanese aggression. Thousands of students gathered at a battle memorial to mourn those who sacrificed their lives. After visiting the museum, they signed their names and recorded their wishes on a scroll that say efforts would be made to prevent a similar event from happening again. Cui Lingnan, CCTV.
A new record yield of super rice is expected to be set on Sunday in Hunan province, with output predicted to hit 13,500 kilos per hectare. Evaluations for 3 of the test fields are continuing, and the final result is due to be released later on. Some of the rice already harvested has been processed, with much of the threshing done manually to separate the crop. Later on Sunday, the processed rice will be put into bags for final measurement. The high percentage of water in the rice makes weighing a difficult process, and accurate readings can only be obtained once the rice has fully dried out. Well, the father of super hybrid rice, Yuan Longping, once had a dream. He dreamt that one day rice could grow as tall as a tree, so farmers could rest under it. He pursued this dream for 50 years, with hybrid rice becoming his lifetime achievement. Li Ying has the story.
Yuan Longping began to devote himself to the research and development of growing better rice in the 1960s. He was a teacher in Anjiang in Hunan province when he happened to find an extremely tall rice plant that had obvious advantages over others.
The area of rice was big. The grain was huge. Its production could have achieved 7,500 kilograms per hectare. It was a huge amount then. I was so glad.
He kept the tall rice plant and planted it the next year, but it harvested an irregular crop. Some were tall, some were short.
I was disappointed, but suddenly I got another idea. The tall one must be a natural hybrid.
This idea led him to a breakthrough in 1973. He successfully developed a set of technologies for producing indica rice, putting China in the lead in worldwide rice production. It yielded 20% more per unit than that of regular ones. For this achievement, he was called the father of hybrid rice. But it didn't end his research there, launching a super rice project in 1998.
I'm not afraid of taking a risk. It's not important to me. People will not laugh at you because you failed after working hard. If I fall down, I just get up and move on.
At present, the hybrid rice developed by Yuan is planted all over China, playing an important role in increasing China's grain production. It's made possible the feeding of more than a fifth of the world's population on only 7% of the world's total Arab land. Hybrid rice has now been adopted by more than 20 other countries. Li Ying, CCTV.
At least 9 people have died in landslides triggered by heavy rain in western China. On Saturday, rocks and mud came down the mountain, engulfing a brick factory and destroying part of a nearby ceramics factory in a suburban district of Xi'an, the capital of Shaanxi province. By Sunday morning, 9 bodies had been recovered and 5 people sent to hospital. More than 700 police, firefighters and local residents have joined in a search for those still missing. Their efforts have been hindered by continuous heavy rain over the weekend. UNICEF has warned that 2.5 million children are amongst those affected by the severe flooding in Pakistan. In the second such disaster in as many years, many are suffering malnutrition and poor sanitation. The Children's Relief Agency says that more help must reach families before the situation gets worse. Our correspondent Fazana Fiaz has this report from Islamabad.
Torrential monsoon rain shows no sign of letting up in parts of Pakistan, and the result has been a second year of flooding, the southern province of Sindh in particular. Amongst those acutely affected are families and children, 2.5 million of whom, say UNICEF, are still recovering from the effects of last year's floods. Flooding has aggravated existing levels of malnutrition and poor sanitation in this developing country. And for children, the health dangers are particularly acute. One mother tells of the ailments affecting her young daughter Shama.
Our part of Baden is flood affected. Everything is destroyed. Shama is ill and has diarrhea. I'm taking her for a medical checkup.
As homes are swept away in the floodwater, people are forced to find shelter wherever they can. Here in Badin, locals are setting up temporary shelter in a school. But standing water is causing a number of illnesses.
People have skin infections, vomiting and diarrhea. Everyone is sick in this camp. There are about 600 people lying inside the school.
The United Nations is expected to launch an emergency appeal on Sunday to raise $400 million after Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani made a televised appeal to the international community for aid. Here in Badin, the work is already underway. UNICEF's Dan Rawman says that water sanitation is of prime concern.
Key issues are health, acute respiratory infection, diarrhea, malaria are some of the key issues we see, but there's also something like skin disease. Nutrition is a big problem in general. Water and sanitation is a big issue as well. People do not have clean water, and so here today we managed to install a water bladder that can help this community here living on this roadside to have access to clean water every day.
Yusuf Raza Gilani begins a two-day tour of the flood-affected regions today to supervise relief efforts. Mindful of the criticism the Pakistani leadership faced during last year's floods, the Prime Minister has cancelled a scheduled trip to the United Nations General Assembly in New York. For the flood-affected people of Sindh, every level of support is very much needed. Farzana Fiaz, CCTV, Islamabad.
The death toll from an airshow crash in Reno, Nevada has risen to 9 after a 1940s fighter plane crashed into a crowd of spectators on Saturday. The plane, which was being flown by a 74-year-old former Hollywood stunt pilot, slammed into the front of the grandstand at the event. Amateur video appears to show a small piece of the plane falling to the ground prior to the crash. Investigations are underway into the cause of the crash and the health of the pilot, who was killed in the crash. 69 people had to be taken to hospital, although 36 have since been released. 20 pilots have died during the history of the Reno Air Show, but it's the first time spectators have been killed since the event began 47 years ago.
When we talk about the environment, it's not just the weather, but those are things like oversight, any other special safety circumstances that are involved in air shows and air races. And so the board will take a comprehensive look at all aspects that could have affected the cause of the accident, and again, what kind of safety recommendations we could make to make sure this doesn't happen again.
US President Barack Obama has urged Congress to pass his $447 billion job plan and says he'll explain how it'll be funded.
On Monday, I'll lay out my plan for how we'll do that. How we'll pay for this plan and pay down our debt by following some basic principles. Making sure we live within our means and asking everyone to pay their fair share.
Obama has repeatedly argued the wealthiest Americans should pay higher taxes as part of the effort to ensure the U.S. debt load remains in control. In his Monday address, he's likely to float more taxes on the rich, as well as companies getting tax breaks and finding at least $1.2 trillion worth of budget cutbacks over 10 years. As the November 2012 presidential election nears, Republicans who have raised the volume on Washington's fiscal problems see higher taxes on the wealthy as a problem for jobs. They say such taxes would affect entrepreneurs and companies alike. That's it for now. I'm Karen Robertson, Beijing. Thank you for watching.